Good. Hey, and good morning. Welcome to another Saturday morning right here on Fox Sports Charlotte with About Your House. Ray Terry, I'm your host. Every Saturday morning, we bring you something, some kind of information and awareness to a situation that absolutely affects you. I promise you, about your house. And it's really about your life and about all of our lives and how we're living in it and the battles we fight, the journey, okay? And this Saturday, hey, no exception. We're going to talk about the number one thing we all endured last week, and that's the heat. The heat. It's summertime. At no other time of the year is your house under more stress from heat and humidity. And we're going to talk about it's. We're going to make this a big science class in probably the second and third hour. We have to do this every year because you know, in the heat like it is right now, there's no other time of the year that you fight water. And I know that might sound crazy, but water is a big culprit, and we're going to talk about that into the show today. But first hour, I'm going to ramble on, rant about several things. Not rant. I'm just going to talk about a lot of things, and one of them are one of my favorite topic is put tools in schools, and I'm gonna give you a reason I want to focus on it so much, and because it's how it affects us all and how it is affecting us all. And what I mean by that is the awareness of for the youth of today. And when I say youth, I'm talking below 40 years old. If you've gone through our education system in this country, you now depending on where you live up north, the trades still exist in schools and industrial arts, shop class, all those things. They're still around up there, but not as plentiful as they once were because they have removed that career pathway from our education system. At any rate, they still exist in certain parts of the country and in some of them in a very big way. However, for the most part, we're not teaching our kids. Actually, we're not teaching them how to be creative and use their imagination, their hands and their minds and critical thinking, because we're all put on this earth by God as creators. And, you'll find I have just seen and asked kids and adults of all ages, many years now, what makes you happy? Do you like art, for example? Do you like creating? And everybody just lights up and says, well, yeah, I like art. Most people do. Make because we're born creators, but we're not teaching that in school in our system of education. And it's caused a tremendous lack of resourceful critical thinking in our youth and young adults. Why? Because we're driven down a pathway of education, education and validation and certification and degrees and what have you, not to the purpose service filled life that we're born and put on our earth to serve each other. Now, I'm not saying what we're doing. Well, I am too. It's critical because here's the example. I go out to jobs now. I still go out because one, I love people. I thoroughly enjoy going out and working with my hands and my mind. It stimulates me in many different ways, as it does most people when you know how to do it. You know, it hurts me enormously when I see kids perfectly able, capable, intelligent, but don't know how to use their own intelligence. And now you might sit at a desk and be a gamer and game, hand-eye coordination on a screen, and that might be a big deal, and it's enjoyable and it's competitive and it tickles your ego and dopamines you up and gets you excited and all that. But what are you doing? Well, I mean, really, what are you accomplishing? What are you serving? I mean, granted, but this is a way of our culture now, this type of behavior around technology. I'm not speaking specifically of gaming, but that's one example. And I can go on and on and on. But what are you kids? But when you learn to work with your hands and your mind and serve and fix and repair and make people happy, you know, I mean, that's or being self-sufficient, having self-confidence enough to attempt something and succeed at it. Wow, how empowering is that? It's pretty darn neat. So, but we're not teaching that in our schools of today, our system of education. And the job of put tools in schools, I say the job or the mission behind it is to just raise the awareness to the opportunities, to the benefits, of learning how to use your mind and your hands. And I speak of the trades. Well, the trades are just a career pathway around using your mind and your hands and tools, tools. I speak of this all the time, but like I said, I go out in the industry. Excuse me, I go out in the field to people, and I hear a lot today about how unprepared the companies that come out they are when they come out. They're unprepared. Now I'm not here to say all the companies out there are unprepared. That's not. They got trucks and they got big trucks and they're loaded with equipment and parts and all this good stuff, and some are, but a lot aren't.
When does that become an issue? Has that always been a problem, or is that more of a recent issue where people just aren't bringing the equipment they need? Like,
They
were they
don't know.
expecting a house to give them a ladder? Like, has that always been an issue, or is that just more of a
No,
recent? Because I hadn't heard about anything like that until recently.
but it's become. My saying "stupid" has become a serious disease. People laugh at it, but it's affecting us because so many times I go out and they say, "Wow, you're prepared." What do you mean? Well, I've had other people out here
Gotcha.
recently that, they come out and they don't have a ladder, they don't have this, they don't have that.
It's probably more the younger generation.
Well, and my point to this is you don't know what you don't know, and that's the problem that we're not exposing these kids to it. And there aren't enough professionals out there right now. Let's just say this, there's not enough examples, mentors, teachers, people who set the pathways for these kids. Like people like myself, we're going away. Why? We're aging out. I'm beyond my years now, relatively speaking, but I'm gonna hang on and keep the fight up. Why? Mainly for the kids. Because I see the happiness and the purpose that it provides for youth and direction that otherwise they won't get if they're not exposed to it, if that makes a bit of sense. It works. It works. But we need to do more of it. And how do we do that? Like, how do we put it in the schools? How do we get it? The only way we do it is we'll do it through industry. If industry doesn't step up, well, how do we make that happen? Here's the bottom line. I fuss about it all the time on this show. My purpose is not driven to. I know I could talk about electrical, I could talk about plumbing and heating, and I do and I will. But who's going to talk about it in 5 or 10 years to where they know the trade? Because right now it's hard to find people to step up, get involved in this. Although industry is, but it's fragmented. The left arm don't know what the right arm's doing, and all these associations and professional people are attacking it, are getting it. And yet our president stepped up and talked about the trades, and he was going to shift money from college, a major college, Harvard, I believe, into the trades or whatever. All of this is just raising awareness to the need because there's a tremendous need right now in this country. And once again, my directive is not really about the lack of labor or the shortfall of labor for industry to perform and do its job. I'll give you a great example of here's an example how it affects people in general. Major companies been on the show here. I'm not going to mention names. Been on the show here. They supply new subdivisions, apartment projects, building projects of multitudes. Multifamily, you might say, and residential subdivisions. They went out and sold a job worth millions, millions. They had to turn it down. They had to turn the work down because they don't have the means to perform and serve and deliver it. Now, if that ain't something right there, you work your butt off to sell something. It takes months to put all this stuff together, months, if not years sometimes, to put something like this together. And they can't do it because they can't serve their commitment if they took it. That's how bad the labor situation is. You know, not only that, but a technician may come out to your house to serve, be an electrician, be it a plumber, be it a carpenter, be it whatever. Now, granted, you'd have to have an assessment visit for the most part. You would. An assessment. What do I mean? Well, what's wrong? What am I fixing? What do I need? That's pretty common. But being prepared is a key thing in all of this. And now we always have YouTube University, right?
Yeah.
I bring that up because I can believe the popularity in it because I use it myself. And it's amazing how effective it is and as a teacher and a guidepost.
It can be very educational. It just depends on what you put in that search box.
Tremendous information, tremendous information. But there again, you can't perform those tasks without tools.
Right.
And knowledge of tools and self-confidence. See where I'm going,
Yeah.
If
Got to be willing to have the confidence to try something, even if you don't know what you're
in
doing.
this culture and education system we live in and have experienced, and you can help me, Rishton, fear is taught. Fear, anxiety.
Yep.
It seems to be highly prevalent in our education system
Oh,
where
100%.
kids are fearful.
Oh, if you don't pass this, then you're not going on to the next grade. You're not doing this. You need to is this.
It's just fear, and it's all around academic, but nothing is actually used application in education because we really don't learn anything without application, do we? I mean,
No,
really?
I agree.
We don't. So how do we change all
Most
this?
of it's just memorization,
How do we
unfortunately.
expose our kids to these pathways? Look, they may not go down them, but I'm going to tell you this: once you have the self confidence and you you get over the fear factors of attempting things, man, it's amazing what you learn. It's just absolutely mind blowing what you learn once you get beyond your fears. And thank goodness I've had so many listeners through the years tell me, and look, I'm not touting it. This is what I believe in humanity personally, that you're capable of miracles if you just apply your God given intelligence because we have that ability. We all do. We're born with it. But then you get in a culture where they they drive you down certain pathways. They do that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Propaganda drives you because you want to be this, you want to be that. And you can't do it without this. You can't do it. And it all is around money, not happiness, not purpose, not service. About this, I call it the matrix.
Pretty much.
You're playing the game of life. And how's that working out for us? And now we're overwhelmed with technology. Oh, AI. I'm scared to death of what that's going to bring. And it's already bringing. You don't know what to believe, who to believe. One of my favorite sayings for many, many years is, who do you believe and what do you
I
believe?
don't think I've ever heard you say that one.
Not lately, you haven't. Not lately. But who do you believe and what do you believe? And sadly, you got to be as careful today as you've ever been in this country because you don't know what you're seeing if it's real or
Very
false
true.
with today's technology. Anyway, we'll talk more about put tools in schools. Got a golf tournament coming up to support the cause Thursday, October 9th at Old Sycamore Golf Plantation. We will talk about that as well. Just getting all the directives put together, going to make it a good year, good cause. So we're going to take a break here. It's break time. 704-227-8986. You want to talk? Let's talk. 704-227-8986. What a concept. I love that thing called talking. Dialogue. It works. It really works. That's another thing we're losing is the ability to communicate effectively. Yeah, sounds like I gripe a lot. Well, I do, but I just dealing with what's thrown to me. All right, About Your House right here on Fox Sports Charlotte. Download the free app, stream it live. Zeke Acosta, retired Zeke Acosta, formerly of Acosta Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. In the house, second and third hour, we're going to talk about the heat, condensation, water, crawl spaces. At no other time of the year are you faced with humidity problems other than this time right here. And I'm going to kind of cover them all. So stay tuned. More About Your House coming your way.
Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Mike Libretto here, inviting you to come in and experience Charlotte's best New York pizza and great Italian food at Libretto's Pizzeria. Serving Charlotte proudly since 2008, Libretto's pizzas are sure to please, but a slice or grab a whole pie. Pastas, entrees, great appetizers, sandwiches, and wings. A menu to please the whole family. Dine in or takeout, available 7 days a week. Visit us online at librettospizzeria.com or call us at 704-714-1442. That's Libretto's Pizzeria. Stop in and become part of the family.
Summer heat is here, along with the humidity. Will your air conditioner provide the comfort needed? ABS Insulating can provide the resources to give you comfort this summer and all year. ABS Insulating uses the latest technology and products to insulate and seal the envelope of your home, creating a comfortable environment all year long, also extending the life of the air conditioning. Call ABS Insulating today for lasting comfort tomorrow. 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
Carolina Foundation Solutions is a family-owned and operated company and a licensed general contractor in North and South Carolina, providing foundation solutions from the mountains to the sandy shores of the coast. At Carolina Foundation Solutions, our objective is to help educate, offer guidance, and provide assistance. With over 200 years of combined experience, our family of experts are ready to help protect and repair your largest investments. If you have a problem, we have a solution. Call 877-883-4626 or online, carolinafoundationsolutions.com.
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to About Your House. Heat, hot. It's summertime. Yep. Right now, currently in Charlotte, 75 degrees, on its way up to a 91-degree day, pretty mild relative to what we've been facing, although the heat and humidity right now, humidity is at 57%. Going to be kind of a typical sunny day around Charlotte. Afternoon thunder showers, 44%. And that's the thing about Charlotte right now is the afternoon moisture and thunder showers, pretty prevalent in Charlotte weather systems. A lot of afternoon thunder boomers moved through here yesterday afternoon, no exception. Depends on where you're at and when they come through. That's pretty much it. You're a moving target, or we are, they are something, but you never know where they're going to come from. Talking about put tools in schools and the whole directive behind it and what we're doing, what we're trying to do about it. I couldn't do it without the support, one, of this show, the sponsors of this show. Just been great over the past 5 years. We started Put Tools in Schools as an awareness campaign in 2018. And the reason it started really was just to raise awareness, and the whole directive has not changed. And I'm going to stay on the path and keep up the fight. We've come up with many different things to help that, but the issue around that is, how do you get people involved to step up without it takes a village. It takes more today than it's ever taken to get something done. And there's a lot of nonprofits, a lot of great things happening around this community called Charlotte, North Carolina. And it has been effective and will continue to be, as long as we can get in front of the kids, show them the opportunities, teach them the pathways that are available to them. And it's amazing what'll happen. Just awareness. It's everything. It's education in itself. We're developing a learning platform, you might say, called the Toolbox over in North Charlotte. You want to know what we're raising money for? We want it to be a connector of sorts. You come in there and you play. You can do carpentry, learn some carpentry skills, learn electrical, learn a little bit about plumbing, learn a little bit about welding, cooking, podcasting, video. We live in a world that's absolutely inundated with technology and videos. Cameras are everywhere. Everybody's holding one in their hand. Videography and just social media in general. Everybody wants to be seen, heard, and wants to be a movie star. I can understand that. It's never been more popular. So if it's out there, if it is a career pathway, not if, it is a career pathway, let's teach kids all about it and give them that pathway of creating imagination and, developing something that helps other people. And speaking of which, Sam Matero with Atero Media has been a tremendous asset for Put Tools in Schools here lately with the golf tournament and all. We're developing artwork and what have you for that. And we're going to do October 9th at Old Sycamore Golf Plantation. We're planning a big day of fundraising, but fundraising, fun to raising and fun. Okay. But we need industry to step up and support if you can't show up and help in front of kids, at least come to that day and support the cause, because we've got to make this happen for our kids, for our future, for the well-being of our infrastructure of this country, be it power, and I want to thank S&N Infrastructure for stepping up and, donating to the cause of Put Tools in Schools and developing some sort of partnership to raise awareness. But there again, it takes more of the industry to step up and be a part to really be effective and address kids. We're busy. Everybody's too busy. I bring this problem up a lot. We're just too busy, but things are changing. It is better, but I talked about the toolbox, kids don't, it's amazing to me how kids aren't aware of tools. When I go to an event, be it a neighborhood or a community event or whatever it is, and I show up, I normally just put tools out on the table, and they're DeWalt, they're yellow. They're not red, they're yellow. In this industry, you have two major tool companies, that you see more of. But I'm going to talk about tools a minute. Let's be fair. Let's be honest. If tools perform, they meet the need of the user, and they can supply that needed assistance, be it a hammer drill, be it an impact driver, be it a reciprocating saw, a multi-tool, whatever the case, a circular saw, I don't care. But these kids never have used these for the most part. They're not guided by fathers or communities or scouts. They're not fortunate enough to be available to that. So we need to let the kids see it. Well, I do. When I go to an event, I just put tools out on the table. It's amazing. They come and they don't know what these tools are. They really don't. And I'm there to learn from them as much as they learn from me. And, that's the whole idea of the toolbox, to expose kids and adults and adult groups, be it female, male, old, young. It does not matter. The exposure, classes, that's a directive I would like to provide to the community for just educational purposes. There are other groups in town, Makerspace. You've got She Built This City. You've got other nonprofits and another initiatives going on around Charlotte that are doing great things. But we got to raise money to make all this happen. We do, because you can't do it without money and equipment. And most of all, we're going to have to find instructors and teachers. Where are the teachers coming from? People are so upset around teaching right now. We're losing teachers. Well, we can't lose teachers. Teachers are the guideposts. We need to change the system.
Look, I mean, can you really blame them, though?
No, I can't.
Yeah, I don't blame them at all.
Can't blame them at all. All right. The whole directive's to raise awareness. How do we teach our kids? Productive skills, service skills, purpose-filled skills, and it provides happy. That's what the whole directive is about. So we're having a golf tournament. Now, how do you put on a golf tournament these days? Oh my goodness. There's so much involved. So we need help with that. So if you're willing to step up and be a part and help, reach out. Go to puttoolsinschools.org, volunteer, and put golf. Next week or week after, midweek, next week, we're going to have a tab on the website and another website that will assist. It'll be linked to the website, and you can go on there and register. And when I say register, we're out to find our premier sponsors. We're going to do a podcast from on site. We want to get sponsorship for that. That's a tremendous marketing tool for companies and a great way you can help support the cause. We'll have platinum sponsorship. And with that, you get great exposure, marketing. You'll be in the promos of the golf tournament starting when that starts. We're lining all that up. Silver sponsorship, bronze. You got hole sponsors. You got players. $120 gives you a great day of networking and fellowship and just a lot of fun. And you're supporting a great cause. Hole sponsors. At the turn sponsor, drink cart sponsors. You know how golf tournament works. Jump on board, help put tools in schools and what we're doing. And if you want to know what we're doing, go on puttoolsinschools.org and see what the directives are. But I hate saying but. I really do. I don't like buts. They're kind of like ifs or maybes.
It's like a transition phrase onto the next thought.
Yeah. If we don't have help,
However,
if we don't get help and support from this here industry, how do we do it? I'm not sure anymore. But I know one thing. It takes a village. And if we don't come together, it won't happen. We get more done when industry's shown up. We've done some events with 15 companies present, and it's made a difference. But we can't do it one time. We've got to do it 50 times. We've been in 35 high schools to date. 35 schools, excuse me, not all high schools. 35. Precision Plumbing's had over 500 applications as a result. And there are other companies I could sit here and tout the results. Look, it's not the jobs we're after. It's the career pathways, the happiness, the purpose, the way we can change lives. That's what it's all about. All right. So that's puttoolsinschools.org. Help us out. Golf tournament raise money Thursday, October 9th. It's Old Sycamore Plantation. Looking forward to it. Got a lot of activities. We'll talk more and more about it, obviously, but we need support. So let's make it a great day. Great day for support. Great course, great staff, great equipment, everything first class. Let's make it happen. All right. I want to talk about your house, what to expect this time of the year. And like I said, Zeke Acosta coming in the second hour, second and third. We're going to talk about all the issues. Maybe San Mateo, I talked about San Mateo with Terra Media. He's had a bout with his AC that everyone could learn from. And I hope he might call in if he's listening. He might be on a project somewhere, but if he's listening and can call in later and talk about the micro switches and the safety measures on today's equipment, we're going to talk about it with Zeke. Condensation, that's your big enemy right now. Now, I want to talk about crawl spaces very kind of in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Right now, a lot of people, have crawl spaces, older homes in Charlotte especially, where they've got surface invasive water issues into their crawl, and they've got moisture coming into their crawl space. Now, right now, in crawl spaces with ductwork, once again, I want to explain a little bit of science. If your air conditioner, if you have an air conditioner, it's working. And this week, it's worked full blast. It's worked overtime. It's working hard as heck just to keep up. And frankly, systems aren't made to handle this kind of stress. We'll talk about that with Zeke. But regardless, your air conditioner's running full tilt. You got a crawl space. That crawl space has ambient air, meaning outside air comes into crawl space vents or comes into the crawl space. The outside air this week has been 95 plus degrees. Humidity 65 and above %. So you've got hot, humid air coming in those crawl space vents. This is why I highly recommend closing those vents, shutting them, not permanently necessarily. I said necessarily, like encapsulating your crawl space. I am not necessarily a big advocate of that. And the reason for this discussion right now is to explain why. It's sold to you as a silver bullet, a resolve to moisture issues in your crawl space, when that's not necessarily the case always. It turns out that way. Okay, now it can be a big problem solver. It can be, but not all the time, and I'll explain why. First of all, your house was built in a time where encapsulated crawl spaces weren't even talked about, weren't even known. Okay. And your house, the dynamics of your house and the way it was built to have a vented crawl space. Now, granted, moisture, the whole idea behind encapsulated crawl space is to eliminate moisture. And if you can eliminate moisture with God-given ground and elevation and gravity and a control system and waterproofing, you don't need to encapsulate your crawl space necessarily. For example, my parents had a house built in the late 50s where dirt was the floor of your crawl space, and it stayed that way up until early 2000s, when everybody says you got to put a vapor barrier down. Then code said you got to put a vapor barrier. The whole dynamics of construction changed. Listen, I'm not here not saying that encapsulated crawl spaces are terrible. They can be a resolve, but not always. What you're dealing with is moisture. You need to eliminate the moisture coming in your house, coming in your foundation wall, in your crawl space. Now, if you've got a dry crawl space, what you need to do is maintain the humidity in your crawl space. Right now, 58-degree air, back to the function. You got 58-degree air when your air conditioner's running optimum, right? 58, 60-degree air coming through those ducts. Well, that's going through the ductwork. Therefore, it's cooling the ductwork, right? Well, if you've got 90-degree air coming into crawl space vents at 60% humidity, what happens when that hot, moist air hits that cool ductwork?
Condensation.
Every time. And you can go under crawl spaces right now and see rain or water dripping off the ductwork, dripping. Now, how do you control that? Well, if you can you've got duct leakage, and we can talk about the percentages of today, which Zeke will throw at us. Used to be you had 30% duct leaks. 30% of that air coming around that duct, you're getting out into the crawl space. So if you close your crawl space vents, you in essence encapsulate or capture that cool air, and you have less condensation because you're cooling the whole environment down. It makes sense. Sense.
Makes sense.
So shut your vents, close the crawl space vents. Okay, but once again, I say, have your crawl space inspected this time of the year. Your moisture levels, for example. Kilo Exterminating, been in business in this town a long time. They deal with pest control. They don't deal with encapsulated crawl spaces. They deal with moisture control. They deal with infestation of wood damaging insects. Okay, why do insects damage wood? For food. Moisture. Insects love moisture. If the wood's wet and moist, it provides good food source. Therefore, you got termites. Have your crawl space inspected before it's too late. Termites are prevalent in this area big time. A lot of damage done by termites. So have your crawl space inspected by a company like Kilo. I talk about them because they give a great service. They give moisture readings in their service, and moisture readings indicate to you how the moisture levels are in your crawl space, which you should know. However, extremes find the reason. All encapsulated crawl spaces aren't always the silver bullet of remedy. I understand why the levels are high, and there's always a reason. Always. You just don't cover up the reason and call it fixed. Now, here's the downside to crawl space encapsulation. From my point of view, only mine. Maintenance. You're providing an area that's encapsulated. It's normally got a dehumidifier installed in an encapsulated crawl space. Why? For when the moisture levels go up, it eliminates the moisture levels. It's a dehumidifier. And it takes power, energy to run that machine. It's out of sight and out of mind. Or do you have it serviced regularly? Do you have a maintenance program? Normally they have filters. Do you change the filter? Is it working? What are the humidity levels? If you don't monitor and maintain an encapsulated crawl space, you're asking for trouble. How do I know this? Because I've been under them 5 years after the fact where nobody's maintained the crawl space. The material's coming down off the foundation walls. I've seen mold and mildew on encapsulated crawl space because the dehue's not working correctly. And all of that contaminated air at that point is coming in your house. Same reason they gave you for doing it can happen again if it's not maintained and serviced correctly. But encapsulated crawl spaces can be wonderful. They're clean. They're environmentally friendly, but you must maintain them. Back to the heating and cooling. What you're dealing with in the summertime right now is humidity. Humidity is the comfort control factor. And believe me, we're going to talk about that in depth because right now humidity can create more problems than just discomfort. Where's the humidity going? How do you control the humidity? Do you know where your condensate drain is? We're going to talk about all that. You need to know. And if you don't know, if it's in your crawl space, there's normally a condensate pump. Do you know if your pump's working correctly? Do you even know where it's at? Now you can hire somebody to go under there, but as a homeowner, you need to know these things, and we're going to talk about these things. With today's technology and comfort, heating and air conditioning systems, it's amazing the comfort you can achieve with not just knowing the science behind comfort. And believe me, right now you're dealing with humidity. If your doors are open, close them. You're just letting more humidity in the house. You're having your air conditioning work harder. And we'll discuss the principles behind air conditioning. You probably don't care, but we're going to tell you anyway. Because as a homeowner, you need to know the principles and when you talk about duct cleaning, when you talk about evaporator coil cleaning, why do you do that? We're going to talk about it. We're here at About Your House. We're going to take a break right now. Come back. Zeke Acosta is coming in to talk to me, and he's downstairs. I'll go get him, and we'll just plow this garden called How Do You Stay Cool in the Charlotte Weather When Summer Comes at Us at Such a Vengeance? Ray Terry here, host of About Your House. Love to hear from you, 704-227-8986. Zeke Acosta's coming in the house. We'll be back with more About Your House.
More about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you, offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
What's up, everybody? This is Jenna with Crown Town Cannabis, Charlotte's first dispensary. Now, we didn't want to stop at being Charlotte's first dispensary. We want to be Charlotte's first place to do cannabis-centered events. Check us out at cltcbd.com to see all of the awesome events that we have coming up. One of our favorites is a fully infused dinner happening at different local Charlotte restaurants. And coming this August, we will be putting on Charlotte's first CLT-centered festival. Check us out, cltcbd.com.
The professionals at Kilo Exterminating Company have over 70 years of experience in pest control. Throughout the years, they always pride themselves on maintaining the highest standard of quality and customer service, with every technician being state certified. And moisture readings are standard with every inspection. Their top priority is ensuring your home is free from pests such as ants, mosquitoes, termites, and any other pests wreaking havoc on your home. That's Kilo Exterminating at 704-333-9855 or online, kilo.biz. That's 704-333-9855.
Hi, I'm Sam Attero of AteroMedia.com, and I love empowering my clients and partners to make the most out of today's latest digital media tools. We specialize in building production systems and podcast studios for small to mid-sized churches and local businesses here in Charlotte. Do you need new media production gear? Do you need help learning how to use it? You're in great hands with our family business, Atero Media of Charlotte. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back. About your house here. We're going to talk about heat with Zeke Acosta. He's here. He's just waiting on him to get settled in. But regardless, summertime. It is the time we have projects around the house. Feel like it, but not last week. I'm going to tell you, that heat was brutal. I mean, I went out one day and did a few things, and I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday. They were all unbearable. You work out in the heat
Suffocating.
You work out in the heat for 2-3 hours, and it just drains you, man. The great thing about winter, you can work to stay warm. I mean, or dress. We'll put another jacket on, put a hoodie on, put something on, put insulated underwear, whatever.
Layer up.
Layer up. You can stay cool. Stay warm. But in the summertime, man, the heat can really just absolutely, it zaps you. I mean, it really does zap you. So anyway, it's been hot. Came in with a vengeance last Saturday, first day of summer, and this past week it was very, very, very warm. And Zeke Acosta's in the house. And how you been, big guy?
I'm making it.
Good.
Yeah. Had some health issues, but I'm all straightened up now.
Zeke, Zeke Acosta, how long have you been in Charlotte?
I've been in Charlotte for 66 years.
66 years.
Yeah.
Well, you aren't much older than 66, are you?
Yeah, I'll be 75 next month.
God, you got me beat. Well, that's great. That's awesome. You've been in the industry how long?
62.
62 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And here's a man that's been in the Charlotte area his whole adult life and career, right?
Right.
And started, and I'm going to go ahead and ask you because most people come on the show. I never have discussed your history on the show. How did you get into heating and air?
Actually,
do you mind going here?
No, not at all. Actually, I was interested in heating and air. I got started when I was in New Jersey with the neighbor had a refrigeration company, and just to get out of the house and on weekends and after school, I would ride with him. I just got.
How old were you?
I was 13 years old, and
you're 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And when you started, just kind of shadowing,
just going, shadowing someone. And when I came to Charlotte, I went ahead and enrolled in the program at Central Piedmont and did that HVAC course at Central Piedmont. And after I graduated, I worked for 2 different companies for, I don't know, about 5-6 years. And then I started my own heating and air conditioning company in 1972.
How old were you?
I was 22 years old.
Yeah, 22. Yeah. So you went to CPCC back then.
Right.
Took the course in HVAC, got out, and had your credentials.
Right. Got out, and while I still had the knowledge or the memory of the codes and stuff, I went ahead and took my state license and got my state license in I think it was 1970 that I got my license, and then in 1972 I went in business for myself.
Right. And been in Charlotte the whole time?
Yep. Been here the whole time. Started just as a one-man show and grew from there. And a few years back, my daughter, after she finished college, she went to work for Cutco.
Cutco knives?
Knives, right.
Okay.
And she was in
I bought a few of them over my years.
Yeah. She was in the marketing with them, and she moved up and was in over the Charlotte area for a short time. And they offered her to open her own office in Myrtle Beach, and she went down there. And about that time, stuff got real tight, or money, and she was with the manager. She had to do the training and get the guys out to sell the products, and they all came. A lot of them would come back and says, can't sell it. They're not, they're not cheap, and they're very good, but they're expensive. And so they were having trouble selling it to their own family. Says we can't. So she called me and asked me. She said, or told me. I said she was either going to have to, put some more money into that business or close it. And I told her just to close it and come back to Charlotte. And she came back and she started doing sales for me. And
Sales and marketing?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right. She started, I sent her to school at Lennox in Texas for a couple of weeks. And then she also did some classes at Central Piedmont to learn the business, and then started doing selling for me.
Gotcha.
And now she's, actually I retired in 2019, and she started, running. She's been running the company ever since.
Well, and that's why I wanted to go there, because you're a great example of the entrepreneurship. That word is vastly used now in our culture, with our youth especially when you ask them, say, what do you want to do when you grow up? I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Oh, what in the heck's that mean? Now, I say that, I said, in what? Because an entrepreneur is nothing but a business person, right?
Right.
I think that's what it means, is a business entrepreneur is just a person who is out there searching and doing and attempting to make a business work.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's what it's all about. And you did that. Now, what's been the hardest part of your growth?
Always employees, finding the qualified technicians to grow. And so, we do some in-house training and do a lot of training in-house, and also we've partnered with a company that they do it online as well. The technicians go online and take training online.
But it's the hardest thing, even with any company today, is finding good people.
Finding good people, and then once you have them, just keep training them, because technology has changed so much. I mean, it changes from one year to the next, and if you don't stay up on the new things,
Well, I get it, because the hardest thing I do every day is keep up with technology, and it's the most frustrating it's ever been. When technology works, it's fantastic.
It is.
But when it doesn't work, it can be it's the biggest nightmare we face every day.
And the units are now, they're all you don't think of them as being computerized, but they are just thermostats.
Well, we're going to talk about that.
Most of the thermostats are little computers.
Well, and the control boards in the units now.
Then the units have
not only in the units, but in the compressors.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Everything is just
technology. And if you don't stay up with it, and then it takes more equipment, more tools and equipment, year after year on updates to stay up with it. Am I right or wrong?
That's it. It's just, that's what I was saying. Got to keep doing training. Always doing training, and you got to just keep learning. Just learn one thing every day if you can.
Right, and that's what kind of industry we have. My weakest area. Somebody called me last week, and I have to admit to this. And he says, "Ray, can you help me?" I says, "I'm sorry, I can't." He says, "Why?" And it's the reason we just stated, because I am not up to date on technology, with all the computer boards and all the power low voltage systems in a unit. It's not what it used to be.
It's not. Everything is, DC voltage. A lot of it, all the variable speeds are controlled through these.
Now what you just said, all the variable speeds. That technology didn't exist 20 years ago.
Not at all. That's probably basically started more than about 10 years ago.
Exactly. Right. And we're going to discuss what's that mean? What's variable speed? Well, not now because I'm up against the break, top of the hour break. But when we come back, hour number 2, we're going to talk about. And the reason I wanted Zeke on the show today is because of the knowledge, the information that you need to be aware of as a homeowner. Old systems versus new systems, old refrigerant versus new refrigerant, and the cost thereof, because it's all changed.
Everything's changed, and the government keeps making changes.
The industry keeps making changes, just like pharmaceutical companies, because they want your money.
Right.
Am I right or wrong?
Oh, definitely. And all the changes do is raise the price.
It just
it never lowers the price.
Right. But you need to be aware of this and understand that the reasons behind it all. So anyway, come back. Hour number 2 coming up with more about your house. I got Zeke Acosta of formerly retired of Acosta Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, and he'll come back and talk about what he knows. Been in it for how long again?
Well, been in business since 1972.
Yep, and that's right at over 55 years.
50, yeah.
Because I've been in it 55 years. That we started together.
Right.
Because I got into construction in 1971. So we're right there together.
Right there.
In Charlotte. Yeah. Come back. We'll talk about it right here on About Your House. Fox Sports Charlotte. I've got Zeke.
Hour number 2, Zeke Acosta of Acosta Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, talking the industry, his story, how he got here, and what you need to know about staying cool this summer. About Your House is brought to you in part by PutToolsInSchools.org, connecting students to tools of the trades and raising awareness of the many career pathways. Also brought to you in part by Queen City Home Store, a family-owned store serving the Carolinas for over 70 years. They're the largest independent appliance retailer in the Carolinas, constantly growing and taking pride in the experience they offer customers with a knowledgeable sales staff and lowest price guarantee. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some time with us. And now, here's your host, Ray Terry.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to About Your House on Fox Sports Charlotte. Download the free app, stream us live. We're on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube Live, aren't we? Yes, we are. Okay, just verify. It's hard to keep up. There we go. Yeah, we're there. Yep.
Again, technology.
There you go. That technology. When it works, it's great, but when it doesn't, it's horrible. Speaking of technology, you and I same age roughly.
Right.
You got a few years on me, but we're roughly in the same camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the technology, Zeke?
Yeah, I do.
You do like it?
Interested in it, sure.
I have interest and I love it when it works. But it's probably the most frustrating aspect of my life of today. Because back when we started, it didn't exist to the degree it exists today. And now everything we do is technology based.
Right.
Practically everything.
It is.
And you need to know how to navigate and be a part of it, or you get left behind.
Yeah.
That's the sad part. Sometimes I want to be left behind because it's aggravating.
Man, we've lost a lot of good technicians because they didn't want to.
They didn't want to
put
transition
to the technology. I mean, I've had a few technicians that just it's just too complicated. We're not didn't want to learn.
So the technology curve kind of gets in the way with some people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I understand that. But I'll say in control work, such as HVAC, it's become a lot like the automotive industry and the plug and play. And if you don't have the electronic equipment, you can't diagnose.
Right. Yeah. This is it's hard to it's sort of frustrating because you're right. It's plug and play. A lot of times, you got a control board, and all you can do is replace the control board, which is an expensive, part that probably just a diode or a transistor in it that
right
could have been replaced. But there's no, you can't really do it in the field. It's just replace it.
So it's a replacement world we live in. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to cover that because now we talked. I'm going to talk basics. I'm going to go into basic heating and air, okay? Mm-hmm. And I know that you've got a background in this like forever. And I keep saying, excuse me, I got a little tickle. Richard, could you go get me some water, please? Thank you. This time of the year, Charlotte, North Carolina, we would agree that at no time other than like last week, a prime example of stress and overload at the max.
It was.
I mean, it was a devastating power surge last week.
Mm-hmm. It was. I mean, with the heating and air, with the units are just maxed out. They just, running at full speed.
And they're not made to keep up with the temps that exceeded what we got into last week.
Right. Yeah. All units are, designed for 95 degrees. That's what they're designed for at the factory, 95 degrees. So when it gets to the, higher than that, they just cannot produce like they normally would. And it just stresses them out, overheat and, start going out on some of the, temperature sensors. But also the heating and air conditioning units are, I said at the factory they're for 95 degrees, but even when you design a heating and cooling system for the house, you do what we call a heat load, heat gain, which is how much heat the house, gains from the solar, from the outside, through the windows and doors and, just the air. You design that at 95 degrees outdoors, 75 indoor. Well, if it's only a 20-degree difference, when it goes up to 98, 20 degrees is only 78 in the house. And you start hitting 100, it's not,
Now, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to throw a caveat in here. It's called humidity.
Oh, humidity.
See, then if you've got leaks, a window open, a door open, and you're letting more hot, humid, moist air into the house. And once again, I'm going to cover some things here that are a biggie, like disappearing stairways in the hallway, that crack around your disappearing stairway.
That's a lot of heat gain right there.
A lot of heat gain. And your attic temperature last week was probably 140 to 150.
150 plus. Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, sure.
So therefore, attic ventilation can be key to bring the attic temperature down, because the attic temperature at 150 degrees with humidity 65% outside, man, every time your air conditioner comes on, you suck air out of your attic around your disappearing stairway door. That is tremendous, and that's overworking your system tremendously and letting hot, humid air. And it's like I said, we don't really fight the temperature on some days as much as we fight humidity.
The main thing of the air conditioning unit, not the main, but one of the main parts of it is removing humidity. You can get, 15, 20 gallons of water out of the air on a typical house with the air conditioning.
Let's talk about that a minute. 15 to 20 gallons of water out of your house. Where does that water come from? Air. It comes in the windows, the cracks, the crevices, the holes, the penetrations, the plumbing, the electrical. We talk about this all the time. If you're fighting humidity. Now, how does an air conditioner work? It's nothing more than a dehumidifier. Now, we talked about variable speed fans. What difference does that make?
They're stronger and they can create a bigger, pressure difference. You talk about disappearing stairs and the leakage around them. Well, bath fans, dryer. You run your dryer
vent,
dryer
vents.
just the air coming out from your house going in through the dryer and outdoors. Well, that air has to be replaced. If not, basically the house becomes a vacuum, and air will leak in through any crevices, doors, windows,
right,
disappearing stairs, anywhere it can, it's going to come through. The holes where they drilled through the bottom plate and throughout the house for electrical. All of those, now new construction is different, because all of that gets sealed and on new construction.
Yeah, new construction, anything after 2010 really changed.
A lot of things changed.
The building envelope of the house made it tighter, and therefore today's homes are much cooler, are much more efficient. But in lieu of the tightness of the houses and structures, air quality has become a major issue. A major issue, right?
It is. Yeah, that's where ERVs, bringing in some outside air.
Energy recovery ventilators, ERVs.
Right.
So the whole dynamic of the heating and cooling has changed.
Right. Yeah.
And it's affected the air quality. But let's go back to humidity. I can go in a house today and I can tell you what the humidity is because I've been in them so long, and the comfort level. You can have comfort at 76 degrees.
You can be comfortable at 80 degrees if you have, low humidity in the house, just because, your body, vibrates and that keeps you cooler. But if you have, you can be in the sun and just move to the shade, and the difference,
Oh yeah, ambient temperature will change from shade to sun, no question. Therefore, how effective are trees? The canopies over houses.
Right.
They can be tremendous benefit.
Right. And
but we fight humidity.
We fight humidity and construction. You don't find big trees around houses anymore because
They tear them
they
down.
tear everything down. They level everything before they build. And it's easy for them to build, but then it takes 40, 50 years for the tree to be, where you start getting some shade out of it.
Right. Let's go back to humidity again. I'm going to dwell on humidity a little bit here because right now, this time of the year, there's things you need to know. And, we talk about service and maintenance. Do you know where your condensate drain is on your house? As you sit here and listen to this, do you know where your condensate drain is? And is there water running out of it? Right now, you're going to find water dripping or going into a condensate drain. If you can't see it, you at least need to know where it's at.
Need to know where it's at. Uh, you know, uh, and, and it's not only the condensate drain in the summertime, but the new furnaces also condensing furnaces. So you get some moisture coming out of the furnaces in the wintertime. And if that condensate line goes out, it can, depends on where it is, it could freeze, and then they'll have to shut the furnace down.
Let's talk about that because this is happening all over this city right now. Every day, this is happening. What I'm about to say, there's a micro switch that controls that is in your overflow pan. That if you get water in it, it'll cut the system down. You won't get any power to your unit because it shuts it down. Am I right or wrong?
It does. It shuts it down, and depends on how it was wired. It can actually just make your thermostat go blank.
Exactly, and that happened to San Mateo this week.
Right.
And it was all due to condensate drain not being cleaned. So you as a homeowner, you need to know where your condensate drain is and how to clean it.
Definitely. If you can, you should know where your condensate is. It's got a lot of them will have a T or a trap with a T and a cap. And if you can know where it is, if you can pour some bleach down through it once a year, it will help clean the sludge. Because water standing in there will just start, forming.
But it just forms blockage.
Blockage, yeah.
It's gunk,
Yeah,
gunky. But so if you don't know where that's at, I highly recommend it because, hey, you want your air conditioner going to fritz? It will happen.
It'll happen.
Not when, not if, not if, but when it's going to happen.
Right.
And then when it backs up, if you're on a slab, and you don't know where your condensate drain is, you're asking for problems.
You're asking for problem not knowing, because if you can if you know where it is and you walk around the house just leisurely and you see and there's no water there, there's no, the ground is not, where it's coming out, it's not damp or wet, you can start thinking about, maybe having something done to it.
Right. And now there's another thing called the emergency overflow pan. It's got a drain dedicated to itself.
Right.
And if you see a lot of homes, and I used to cover this in a Habitat for Humanity little teaching seminar I gave to Habitat potential owners about there's normally in new homes, not normally, it's code.
Right.
That you have to have an overflow pan and a drain visible.
Right. The overflow pan has to be under the furnace and the drain and the indoor coil or the evaporator coil. And you have to have one of the two, either another float switch on it to cut it off if water gets in it, or a drain line coming off of it. And that drain line, if it's, if your system's in the attic, a drain line coming off of it, it's going to come out of the eave or the side of the house. And the code says it has to be conspicuous. In other words, you got something you can see, and get people complaining, water's dripping out of my, side of the house.
And we're going to go over this again when we come back because this is a biggie. This is a big deal. and it's telling you. You just don't know what it's telling you. We're going to talk to language when we come back on About Your House here. Why is water coming out of that little pipe? We're going to tell you why right here on About Your House.
About the show, go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Mike Libretto here, owner of Libretto's Pizzeria and Spinello's Pizza. I opened my first pizzeria in New York City in 2004. Not long after that, I took my passion to Charlotte, North Carolina, serving up a taste of New York City with great pizzas and authentic Italian cuisine. Come in, relax, and enjoy Libretto's Pizzeria, located off Johnson Road in the Ballantyne area. Libretto's is also home of the famous Spinello's Pizza, a 10-inch infused frozen pizza, offered in both pepperoni and plain cheese. Visit SpinellosPizza.com for more information, to find a retailer near you, or just to order for pickup at the restaurant. Libretto's Pizzeria is open 7 days a week, a great place to relax, dine in, take out, delivery, or for catering. Visit us online at Libretto'sPizzeria.com. Call us at 704-714-1442 for the best in New York pizza and Italian cuisine. That's Libretto's Pizzeria. Stop in and become part of the family.
Whether you're building new or remodeling old, let ABS Insulating make it comfortable. ABS Insulating knows the business of comfort. Using the latest products and technology, ABS offers an array of solutions, using fiberglass and spray foam, and all installed by certified technicians. ABS Insulating has been saving energy dollars with great customer service for over 30 years. They're a leader in the industry. Call them today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you, offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
Let's face it, we do not like bugs and especially spiders and ants. Unwanted pests in the home are not only creepy, they can also spread sickness and cause significant damage to the structural integrity of our homes. Kilo Exterminating has been taking care of pest control problems in the Charlotte area for over 70 years with award-winning customer service. Moisture readings are standard with all crawl space inspection. Call Kilo Exterminating at the first sign of infestation, 704-333-9855, or online at kilo.biz. Again, that's 704-333-9855.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. We were talking basically about, well, humidity, the results of too much, be it through an emergency pan.
Emergency pan.
And the emergency pan is code and required in all new residential structures.
Right.
Is there an emergency pan on slabs?
There's an emergency. It doesn't matter whether it's a slab house or not. You have to have now. There's not an emergency fan in the crawl space,
Right. I know that.
but in a slab house, if your unit is in the closet,
Right.
it's got to have an emergency fan under it. If it's in the attic, it has to have an emergency fan under it.
Well, and I ask you these direct questions because I
Mhm.
want listeners to hear what we're saying. Because once again, there's no other time of the year that you're going to fight moisture and humidity other than this time, the summertime.
Right. And
Because your air conditioning is nothing more than a large dehumidifier.
it is, and we got all this heat, and you have a rainstorm, and it cools the temperature, and everybody says it's great. It lowered the outdoor temperature. Well, guess what it brought with it?
A lot of moisture in the air.
A lot of humidity. Now you got more humidity to deal with.
And this gets in your house. Okay, now let's talk about science a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
Hot air meets cold air. What do you get? Every time, what do you get? Moisture. Wet. And in abundance, because here we go again. We got humidity. I don't know what it is right now, but it's probably pushing 60 degrees or above. Wouldn't you agree?
60%, yeah.
Or above. Okay, so you got 60% humidity in the air in your house. Okay, maybe more. Hope not, because the higher you get above 55%, the more discomfort you get.
More discomfort, more, prone to get, viruses and stuff.
More cooties get in the air because the air is full of moisture, right?
Right.
Okay, now you've got air returns in your house. Every time your air conditioner comes on, it sucks air out of your house into the air return, right?
Right.
That air goes through your ductwork, to your system, your fan, your blower, and directs all this airflow across an evaporator coil.
Right. And
right?
The evaporator coil lowers the temperature, and as it lowers the temperature, get the humidity out.
Hot air sucked in, cold evaporator coil. What's the tip of that evaporator coil, roughly?
Usually about 20 to 30 degrees colder than what the indoor.
But
the
it's
house.
set up to give you an ambient temperature of 58 degrees out, right?
Right.
Roughly 58.
Mhm.
Am I right or wrong?
Yeah. Right.
So you're supposed to be getting 58-degree air in your ductwork once it crosses that evaporator coil. We talked about variable speed fans. This is a biggie. If that air, help me here, Zeke, if I'm wrong, okay? You got a fan sucking air across that evaporator coil. If it's going real fast, is it going to pull the moisture out?
It doesn't take. That means that the temperature, because it's got all that heat going across it, it does not have enough time to get the humidity out.
Or lower the temperature. The way it's supposed to.
Right.
So a high-speed fan is not efficient when it comes to air conditioning and pulling the moisture out of the air.
Out of the air. So
where's that moisture go once it crosses the evaporator coil?
Back into your house.
And then, it's pulling the water, it drains from the evaporator coil into a little pan.
Into a pan.
That's the primary drain pan, right?
Right.
That's got a drain on it. That's your main drain for the evaporator coil. And that's the little white pipe that comes out normally.
About 3/4 inch plastic pipe.
Right, with a little trap on it.
Mm-hmm.
And drains out. You need to know where that's at, because why? I just told you why. That's where all your waters are going.
That's it.
And now, if you've got when they come and try to sell you, let me rephrase this. They educate you about what your options are when you're replacing your system. Remember the variable speed fan. It offers a more comfort range, does it not?
Does it come from more comfort range? And you mentioned, sell, and then sort of back up and said educate. And that's a lot of people, we got a lot of maintenance agreements, and every time we go, we evaluate their system and their house, and then offer them options to improve. And they get mad sometimes because they say, "You're always trying to sell me something." We're not trying to sell them something. We're giving them options to improve their system or improve their efficiency.
Right. I
And
get it.
they get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, and the whole purpose behind today's show, I should have this show at least once a year,
Mhm.
is to explain what in the heck you're dealing with. So as a homeowner, the science and how it works. Now, in a crawl space, normally those drains run into a pump if gravity doesn't do it.
Right. If you cannot have gravity to
Drain.
exit the foundation, then you have to have a pump on it. And now, again, the pump is going to have a float on it. And a float switch, if the pump's not working, it's going to cut the unit off.
Where's the water go? In your crawl space.
Yep.
Therefore, how long has it gone, not looked at, and how long has it been draining into your crawl space?
Yeah.
Tell you a story. Got to say, I was called out to a house in Providence Plantation, the bull tallow capital. But anyway, Providence Plantation got a vein of bull tallow through the air.
Mhm.
It's terrible. But anyway, he calls me up and says, "Ray, I've got moisture. I was told I've got excess of moisture in my crawl space, and my levels are exceeding 25%. I says, "Well, have you had your crawl space looked at?" He says, "Well, only what I just told you." So I go out there, and I said, "You got an irrigation system, don't you?" He says, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I said, "You live in Providence Plantation in South Charlotte." He says, "Well, I do." I says, "When's the last time you had it looked at and maintained?" He says, and I said, "Never." He says, "Pretty much." I says, "Okay, I'll be out there and take a look." Well, I went under his crawl space. Remember me talking about excessive water in your crawl space? I went under his crawl space. His pump has not been working for I don't know how long. Puddle of water under the unit like crazy. And then I could see water on his foundation from his irrigation system not being properly adjusted and therefore squirting his foundation walls, which therefore putting more water in his crawl space. But the pump underneath his crawl space, and I asked him point blank, I said, "When's the last time you had your air conditioner service?" He said, "I can't tell you." I says, "Well, number one, that's number one on your list." Folks, you've got to maintain this stuff.
Maintenance is, it makes the systems last longer. You have no heating or no cooling issues with it. And again, if you don't clean or wash the outdoor coil, all that air going across it, it'll just,
Oh, we ain't got there yet, Zeke. But let's go back to the evaporator coil.
Yeah.
We talk about duct cleaning, cleaning air ducts. Why? Well, if you're not changing your filters consistently, you're allowing your ductwork to build up crud.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, let's talk about your evaporator coil. That evaporator coil is like a filter.
It's wet, and then all the dust sticks right to it.
Exactly. And you know what evaporator coil looks like? Looks like the radiator in your car.
Mhm.
Or the condensing coils outside. If you go to your condensing, see all these little fins?
Right.
That's what your evaporator coil's got on it, right?
That's exactly, yeah.
And that air goes across in those fins. If it's dirty air, you're going to collect dirt on the fins. Therefore, every now and again, they're going to say you need to have your evaporator coil clean.
Your evaporator coil clean, your fan, the blower wheel, itself gets,
Let me give you a great example of that. Just last week, I got a fan in my sleeping quarters where I sleep. It's a fan. Well, that fan started to make some noise. And I says, "Why would that fan make noise?" Well, I turned the sucker off and looked at it. It was funky.
out of balance.
It was dirty, had dirt all over the blades, had dirt on the grill. I said, "You nasty boy, you." So I took that sucker outside and I tore it apart and I cleaned it. Sprayed a little WD-40 in the motor, on each end because it's got bearings in there. Whether nylon or whatever, they're there. And I said, cut that sucker back on after I cleaned it. No noise at all. Sound like a new fan. Same things with your blower on your HVAC system, heating and air conditioning system. Most of them are squirrel cage, right?
Right. Yes. On the inside, it's going to be all squirrel cage.
Yep. Bath vent fans, same thing. If you've got a house that's 20, 30 years old and your bath vent makes a racket, have you ever thought about taking that rascal apart and cleaning it? It is amazing. Many a time I've told this story, but I'll tell it again. I go to houses that, Ray, can you replace my bath vent? Sure, I can. And I go out there and open it up, and I said, oh, my God, this thing is nasty. And I said, what? I got a hypothetical question for you. We hadn't opened that box yet. If I get your bath fan working good, and I'll prove it to you, would you take that back and get a credit, get your refund? You can do that? I said, look at this nasty thing. I promise you, if I take this apart and I clean this thing, it'll work just like a new one. And there again, you give it a little TLC. 9 times out of 10, it always works. Always. Your heating and air conditioning system is out of sight, out of mind for the most part, and you have no clue of how dirty or clean your system is. You can only depend on a reputable, honest technician to come out and give you this information, but it's yours, and you should know, one, when it was last cleaned, when it was last serviced, and what you have and what you don't have, and how it's all working. And that's the reason we're talking to you today about what you do have, because most people don't have a clue how it works.
They don't. Yeah, it's just no one's explained to them or the homeowner, what needs to be done to their house. What's the maintenance that they should be doing?
The number one thing you deal with in your energy cost is your comfort, right?
Comfort.
And you want to minimize your expense in being comfortable. And what we're telling you here now, if you have an attic or a 2-story house, you've been straining all week to keep it cool. It's brutal.
It's brutal.
And now, how can you maintain it? We've told you many ways. Do you believe in attic encapsulations?
Sure.
They work.
They work.
Right now, a lot of people are struggling, and I'm going to give you, once again, a clue to success. If you've got a 2,800 square feet, 2-story house, how many systems do you have? Probably 2, right?
Right.
Probably 2. Upstairs is struggling to keep up.
It is.
Struggling like heck. Okay, if you've got a typical attic, your ductwork typically is going to be in the attic. Right? Your attic today or last week was 150, give or take, or more. 150 degrees.
Right.
That means every time your air conditioning's reached its temperature, thermostat cuts it off, all the ambient air, the air in that ductwork increases to around 150 degrees. Am I right or wrong?
It is.
So every time your air conditioner cuts on, every time you get a blast for about 2, 3, 4 seconds, 5, 10, whatever, however long it takes the air to get across that evaporator coil and start cooling that ductwork, you get a blast of hot air.
You do. And, not even when the unit cuts off, right, even while it's running, heat always travels to cold. Well, if you got cold air going through that ductwork and the heat in the attic, it's going to lose that cold air is going to lose some temperature just because of the heat
just
in the attic.
Just because it's there, thermal exchange.
And so the air coming out of the register is not going to be as cool as it should. Therefore, your air conditioner doesn't cool the house as you should.
Right. Okay. So you got a footprint of roughly 1,200 square feet in a 24, 25, 2,600 square foot house, right?
Right.
So your attic, overall, it's not that big. So if you've got a decent new roof on your home, a new roof, why do I say that? I'm going to tell you why. Because if you encapsulate your attic, you're going to spray foam insulation under your roof deck. Well, you want to do it on a fresh roofed house because the average roof deck replacement on a roof replacement is anywhere from 5 to 10 sheets of decking. Well, anytime you take decking up, you're going to damage the insulation, right?
Right.
The closed open cell foam insulation. But if you encapsulate your attic, you can decrease the strain, stress, and load on that unit.
It lowers your cooling load.
And that attic will never exceed 80 degrees again. The attic. So you went from 150 degrees to 80 degrees, and you hadn't changed anything else but that.
Just insulation.
That right there is just minimize the strain, and I promise you'll get comfort upstairs now. And at a cost. Now, and this is a testimony to 5, 6, 7, 8 situations that I've encountered over the years where they had to put a relatively new unit in the attic, but yet it wasn't doing it. I says, well, then encapsulate your attic. Really? I said, really? If your roof's good, well, we just had a new roof put on. Makes sense, Zeke.
Definitely.
And it works, doesn't it?
Oh, it works.
Now, there again, let's go back to the crawl space once again. Now, remember, we just left the attic. Condensation and cold. Oh, yeah, there is a factor. If you've got moisture, not if, a lot of homes right now have brown water stains around heat registers in your upstairs bedrooms. Why do you have that? We just told you. You've got hot air versus cold air hitting each other around your boot, going through the ceiling. And if you go up in the attic and you take some spray foam and you spray around that boot and make sure you've got a good seal between the insulation and that metal, you can minimize the condensation. But it's very popular this time of the year, isn't it?
It is.
You get a lot of water stains.
Yeah.
People say, where's the water coming from? Hot air in your attic is meeting the cold air coming through that boot, that metal boot, creating moisture, like a tea glass.
Just like it. I mean, you got something cold with the heat. It just, the water goes to it, and then you start sweating. And then, even just the registers, a lot of times register sweating.
It does. It'll drip. Sit there and drip. You say, where's that water coming from?
Yeah.
Crawl space. Really bad times. I know you've seen this, Zeke. You go in a crawl space, your ductwork's drooping, and it's tied up, and it's got a big droop in it again. And then you go say, why is that drooping so? And then go feel it, and it's full of water. And people say, where's that water coming from? The metal boot that's going through the floor is exposed to that hot, moist air I told you is in your crawl space. And it's filling that ductwork up. How do you know that's there? You don't, unless somebody goes down
unless you go in there and look.
That's why I say if crawl space inspections are very important. Crawl spaces are big, big water problems for the most part.
Right.
And as I talked about before you came in, you got 58-degree air supposedly going through the ductwork. You got 90-degree air, 90-plus degree air coming in your crawl space vents with 60 to 70% humidity. What do you get when you cross those two together? Water. Every time. Folks, right now, this time of the year is the worst time of the year for combating water issues in a crawl space, and we just told you why. Because you can go under a crawl space in some houses, and it's literally raining. You ever been under them?
Oh, I've definitely seen it. With you go in, the whole ductwork is just dripping water.
Yep. There's your issue. And encapsulation is not necessarily the answer. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, you got to find out where that water's coming from.
You got to find the balance.
Yeah.
Right? The balance. And it all can be controlled through proper methodology and heat control. And control of the air and the movement of the air. 704-227-8986. Zeke Acosta's in the house talking cool. How do you stay comfortable? It's really simple. Eliminate the moisture in the air. Really simple. We're going to talk about
easy to say.
We're going to talk about one of the tremendous advancement of technology in the air conditioning and comfort industry, and that's mini splits.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree or disagree?
They're great.
They're beyond great.
Mm-hmm.
I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Like on-demand water heaters. Same thing.
Right.
There's some technology I like because it's really, really changed the whole bar.
Yes.
I think. We'll talk about it. Zeke Acosta. I know everybody's struggling. Air conditioning. Got to have it. We take it for granted. Number one issue we asked you last hour, do you know where your condensate drain is? If you don't, you need to. I'll ask you a few more questions if you know, because a lot of people don't know these answers, and you should as a homeowner. It's going to save you money and give you greater peace of mind in the long run. Stay tuned. More to come right here on About Your House.
The show, go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Hello, everybody. This is Mike Sims from Crown Town Dispensary here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Thanks for being supportive and loving through the years and supporting us through About Your House with Ray Terry. We have expanded over the years, and we now have stores from tip to tip, all the way from Pisgah Forest to Waves, North Carolina. Check us out on crowntowncannabis.com or cltcbd.com for store locations and online purchases. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com. Someone asked me once what I love the most about my 30-year-long career as a media producer and educator, and I have to say the fact that not only do I get to create for a living every day, but then I get to teach and help others to use the content and gear systems that I've built for them themselves. You need professional live event video production or streaming services? You're in great hands with our family business. All 5-star Google reviews. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Steve Helms here with the Al Metal Dryer-Vent Corporation. The Al Metal Dryer-Vent Corporation is a full-service dryer vent company. Regardless of the problem, we can handle it. Does your clothes dryer take longer than 45 to 50 minutes to dry a load? If so, you need your dryer vent cleaned or checked. The clothes dryer is the most inefficient appliance in the house and should never take longer than 45 to 50 minutes. Call Al Metal Dryer Vent today at 704-846-8368 or online at almetaldryervent.com. That's 704-846-VENT. Have you cleaned your dryer vent lately?
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Carolina Foundation Solutions is a family-owned and operated company and a licensed general contractor in North and South Carolina, providing foundation solutions from the mountains to the sandy shores of the coast. At Carolina Foundation Solutions, our objective is to help educate, offer guidance, and provide assistance. With over 200 years of combined experience, our family of experts are ready to help protect and repair your largest investments. If you have a problem, we have a solution. Call 883-4626 or online, CarolinaFoundationSolutions.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Got Zeke Acosta in the house, Acosta Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Real quick, just a little side road here. Y'all went into the electrical business, what, 5 years ago, 5 or 6?
Well, I've had the electrical license for 20-some years. We were only doing the electrical on the replacement.
All your service
we were
work
doing
and stuff.
on our, and we started doing, added the electrical division, started doing, backup generators, whole house generators, and all the other electrical work. Probably about 6 years ago.
How's the electrical? I'm glad we brought that up
Mm-hmm.
because a whole different market out there for generators.
It is.
Have that kept you busy?
It has. And it goes in.
Well, I know if there was a big storm and we had a big power outage,
then
right
it just
now you
picks
get
up.
a lot of business.
Right. They're talking about a hurricane coming, and maybe they're going to lose power. People start talking about it. But we have a lot of people that well, like myself, I have sleep apnea, and I have to have a BiPAP machine to sleep with.
How's that work? Is that working good for you?
Yeah, it works great.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'd like that. Okay.
But
you did it for medical reasons.
Yeah. Well,
life reasons.
Right.
We're so dependent on power and energy right now.
Yeah. I mean, when Hugo hit, I had a portable generator that I had to go out there and hook up, and kept having to buy gasoline to put gasoline in it and everything else and it was not the whole house. It's just certain areas that you could
circuits
handle.
that you fed.
Now you can do the whole house. It doesn't matter. The big generators now, you can have it doesn't matter how many square feet or how many air conditioning units you have. You can just get a generator through the whole house, and you have no disruption.
Oh no, 10 seconds. It's going to transfer the transfer switch. Does it automatically? It's done it. Yeah.
Your internet's back up. Your TV's back up. Everything's works right away. You can if you're out working from home, you can if you don't have internet,
Well, if you don't have internet, you're down. You're period.
Right.
I mean, I've suffered 2 days a month ago with no internet, and it just changes your whole
everything.
It changes everything. Unfortunately, we're captive. We are captive to technology, and that's the reality of life.
Right.
Without internet, you might as well go out and ground yourself, walk barefooted in the grass. Just take a break, go hug a tree, get close to nature, because you ain't gonna get nothing else done. I mean, that's about the size of it. I hate to say it, but it's true. You can go plant your garden, go talk to your plants, go play with your animals. Yeah, right. Go. And and speaking of gardens, we're in the primo season for gardening. There's no question about it. And I hope everybody's yield is bountiful this year. I had my first homegrown tomato last week. Man, I love a good tomato. Ain't nothing like it. But anyway, talking to Zeke Acosta about, comfort, but we're also talking, you can't have comfort on a hot summer day without AC.
Right.
And you on the thunderstorms in Charlotte area. Let's talk a little bit about that as well. we're in thunderstorm season, wouldn't you say so?
We are.
And
That's,
Charlotte,
you know,
Mecklenburg, and this area of the country is only second highest in lightning strikes to Florida. Did you know that?
and yeah,
We're the second highest in the country, lightning strikes, next to Florida. And what do lightning strikes mean? Power outages.
power outages, and talk about so many units now have so much electronics in it. If you don't have a surge protector,
Whole house surge.
whole house surge protector, very important.
It is very important. You're no doubt about it. And that doesn't entail a lot of money either. You can have whole house surge for, not that much money relative to the cost of the surge and how much damage it can cause to your house. What do I mean? Because if you get a lightning strike, it can wipe out every TV, every computer, every circuit board in your appliances. It can fry so much, and you're going to make an insurance claim because that's what can happen. Now, don't confuse our conversation here in the past 5 minutes. We were talking about generators, and then we switched to surge protection. Two different things, although you need both.
You should have both, right?
Well, backup generators are expensive. You're talking a
surge
minimum.
protector is more. If you think about it, surge protector is more important than the backup generator.
Absolutely. In any house out there with today's electronics and technology being what it is and is sensitive to the energy surges that you have the potential of having, you need whole house surge. How much would that cost? Do you know right off the top of your head?
Nah.
Probably around $500.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
I would say 5 to 7, yeah.
Yep. But you need protection because, like I say, you can wipe out your computers, all your new appliance, Bluetooth circuit boards, whatever.
Thermostats, electronic boards in the air conditioning unit. You don't know how much they're, can be damaged by the surge protector.
And all it has to do is happen once. And once can cost you a lot of money and more stress. Because we're so captive to technology. Without it, you're dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And now with appliances, and another thing, I'm going to just go down a little side street here. When you go buy technology, now what I'm speaking of is when you're buying appliances, when you're buying any TV, any electronic devices at all, you're buying computers. Every one of those devices can be affected by a surge. Every one of them.
Yes.
And the surges are very prevalent in the thunderstorm season that we're in right now. So beware of it. Now, let's go back to generators. What brand do y'all carry? Do you know?
Generac.
Generac, which is a top drawer dealer.
It is.
And y'all are a certified dealer.
We are.
Great. Well, why do I bring this up? Because, folks, if you're looking for a whole house surge, you want to hire a company that is represented and backed by a company like Generac or Kohler, and there are many others that are up there.
Those are the main.
But those are the two tops, Kohler and Generac.
Generac.
Yep. And you can have whole house, you can have partial house, but whatever, you're talking 8,000 and above. I do know that.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So, but that's a small investment considering what you get out of it. And let's talk about the fuel. You can hook it up to natural gas. If you've got a natural gas line coming into your house, it cuts on automatically for a weekly check, runs a cycle.
It does.
And they don't make a lot of noise either.
They don't. They, pretty quiet. They don't. You don't hear it in most cases. You hear when nobody else, when the power's out and everything's quiet, and your generator's the only thing running in the neighborhood. But that's about it.
Right. So if you're looking for it, Acosta Heating, Cooling, and Electrical can Generac dealer, get them out there to give you a quote, and let them take care of it. A lot of people have backup generators like you started out. You had to go out there and make it work, crank it up, feed it with gas, make sure it was hooked up correctly and safely. And a lot of people don't know the last word I said, how to do it safely.
Right.
So
Yeah.
therefore, you don't need to be doing it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I had my electrical license, and I knew about it. So even though I had a portable generator, I knew how to hook it up. So
Well, you do because you're a trades guy.
right.
See, here's another advantage of being in the trades. You learn all this stuff, and you don't have to hire people. You did all your work yourself for your whole
Right.
adult life, didn't you?
Yeah.
For the most part,
Right.
you didn't call anybody,
No.
right? Nor have I. But I will say, my weakest area, beyond a shadow of a doubt, in the trades is HVAC.
Mine is appliances.
Yours is appliances. Well, I don't blame you. Appliances are a pain. I put them in, but I won't fix them.
Yeah.
No way. No way. Because once you open it up, it's yours. You lost the warranties. And I'm telling you that because if you've got somebody in your house and you've got an appliance that's bad, that's got a problem. Let's not call it a bad appliance. It's got a problem. And your technician is not, what'd you say?
It's faulty.
Yeah. Right. Something's faulty with it. If you plow into that thing and break certain seals, it's yours. You're responsible. The company will not back it up. Believe me, I learned that the hard way. Thinking I can fix everything. Every man needs to know his limitations. There's no doubt about it. And I learned mine the hard way. Tried to fix a dishwasher one day, my last time. I said, never again. No, no, no. Now, if it's a simple mechanical thing, got it. But if it deals with the computerization of technology and all the controls, except I will replace the switch panel because they're plug and play. You just kind of plug and play. You unplug one, plug the other in, screw it in place.
Right.
You're good to go. Those are simple, but fixing what's inside that thing, forget it. No chance. All right. We're going to take a top of the hour break here, come back and talk more heating, cooling, primarily cooling, and a few little micro switch tricks you probably don't know about. Like if your panel's not on correctly, guess what? Your unit won't work.
It won't.
Zeke said, nope, we sure won't. We'll be back. We'll talk about it right here on About Your House.
Grab another cup of coffee and join us for Hour 3. Zeke Acosta of Acosta Heating, Cooling, and Electrical continues his discussion with Ray about the summer heat and the efficient ways you can combat the brutal heat with your air conditioning. About Your House is brought to you in part by PutToolsInSchools.org, connecting students to tools of the trades and raising awareness of the many career pathways. Also brought to you in part by Queen City Home Store. Queen City Home Store is a family-owned store serving the Carolinas for over 70 years. They're the largest independent appliance retailer in the Carolinas, constantly growing and taking pride in the experience they offer customers with a knowledgeable sales staff, product selection, and lowest price guarantee. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some time with us. And now, here's your host, Ray Terry.
All right, I want to share something with you on a HVAC, a cooling problem, And it was a post one of my friends made in social media, Facebook. He says, Charlotte friends, we need an HVAC tech. I'm sure they're all overwhelmed right now, but I have to put this out there and try. Our central air is intermittently failing to send power to the thermostat and then shuts down entirely. It's been brutal. This happens during the hottest time of the day, and it seems once the temps cool off in the evening, it powers back up. What's this sound like, Zeke?
Stopped up drain.
That's exactly what the problem was. What was happening is a stopped up drain in the emergency pan backed up, tripped the float switch, shut the unit down, shut the power off to the thermostat. And when the level went down, after it sat there and drained a little bit, because we're in the hottest part of the day, the most humid part of the day, the most brutal part of the day, and it can't keep up. The drain can't keep up with the water
Right.
drain. So therefore, it shuts down the unit. And as soon as the water level goes down,
starts back up.
Now, how would you, the homeowner, know what's happening? We just told you. If this is your situation, it goes right back to what we talked about last hour, I think. Know where your condensate drain is, because they're micro switches and float switches that are installed in that unit. And your panels. The panel is on your unit. If they're not installed correctly, there's switches in there that won't allow your unit to work.
Yeah, the door panel for the furnace or the air handler has a micro switch on it. As soon as you take the door off, it cuts the power off to it. So you can go in there and don't get shocked or electrocuted.
Yeah, it shuts power down. Safety.
Right, so safety.
Right. So see, if you don't know this stuff, you don't know. That's why you hire a professional. But if you're inquisitive and you tune into YouTube University, it tells you all this stuff. If they're thorough and knowledgeable enough to share it with you. But now that one friend of mine that had the problem, then again, it sounded like a power issue. It was.
Mm-hmm.
It was a shutdown power issue coming from the result of a clogged drain, water backed up, float switch popped in as a safety measure, shut the unit down.
Some of the water leaked out and started back up. But it's just temporary. Like I said, when it's running, it starts taking humidity out of the air.
Right.
It fills up again.
There you go. It's going to do it again, unless you clean the drain.
Right.
That's the whole key right there. Know where your condensate drain is, know how to clean it, and understand why and where the water's coming from. Most people say, where's the water come from? Air. Your humid air, So there you go. All right. We've given, is there anything you could offer people for advice on some things they want to look at for summer? Like we hadn't talked about the outdoor condenser unit yet.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go to, the outdoor unit. The outdoor unit's out in the heat, and it's in the because of the there's no filter on that, like you were talking about the condenser or like the radiator, and it gets dirty. Dirt and dust gets on there. Cottonwood covers them up, and it overheats. If one thing, at least stick a water hose once a year and rinse those condensers.
Well, I was going to say the condensing unit, that's the outdoor noise maker. The big square thing. It looks like some of them are round, most of them are square this day and time. Right. And there's got coils in there. Leaves. Leaves should not be building up at the base of it. You need to keep the whole area.
Grass clippings from the lawnmower, as you cut the grass, have it, blow away from the unit, not towards the unit.
Grass clippings will get in those veins and clog airflow, therefore cutting the efficiency of the unit to keep it from performing at its optimum. And you might take, like Zeke just said, take it like today. Go out there and take a garden hose and make sure you clean all the unit. Clean it, blow it out with some water. Won't hurt the unit.
No, I mean they're out in the rain anyway.
Exactly.
So it's almost waterproof. So I mean you don't have to worry too much about spraying water on it.
Now
I wouldn't spray it right on the motor itself, but
Right.
The unit itself is fine.
And once again, I've said many times, if you've got shrub plants around your condensing unit and the foliage is getting into touching the unit, you need to trim it back. You need to make sure you've maintain great airflow around your condensing unit. A lot of people, you don't even think of this stuff. But if you don't, and you're wondering why your air conditioner's not performing to its maximum, well, these are reasons. All of the things we've talked about today really affect the comfort in your home. The biggest thing we've talked about today is humidity in the air, how to air seal your house, how to seal the building envelope of your house or keep the moisture out. We've talked about that. That's a big part of what we're talking about here.
Yes.
It's major. Open doors. A lot of people keep their patio doors open so their animals can get in and out. With a little flap screen. I told one of my friends this week, I said, you can't do that and expect to have comfort in your house.
Well, it's just another place for air to get in. Hot, humid air.
Hot, humid air. That's the culprit. You're not fighting temperature as much as you're honestly fighting humidity. There's your difference. And if you got a hole in your house, you're letting hot, humid air in your house. Eliminate it. Just that simple. So, hey, and keep the moisture out because that's what you're fighting right now.
Yeah. You were talking about encapsulating the attic. The others, I mean, even if you just get an attic tent.
Attic tent on the disappearing stairway is essential, and I'm glad you brought it up because I failed to do so. Attic tents work.
They work. They're not that expensive, and they do a tremendous job.
And they're easy to install, but let's talk about attic tents a minute. I've installed a lot. Matter of fact, I've installed attic tents since they were hit the market way back. The Williams boys up in Mooresville invented that, came up with that concept, and went and got them manufactured, and they're outstanding. They do a great job. However, the attic tent is a brand. There are other brands. If you Google it, Amazon sells one. There are other off brands that work just as good. I have to say that. But to install them, especially the attic tent brand, I've done a YouTube video on that on Ray Terry's YouTube channel. It takes all of 10 to 20 minutes. If you're real slow and don't know what you're doing, it might take 30. But if you know how to use a staple gun with 3/8-inch minimum staples and a caulking gun and read a tape measure, you can install an attic tent. What do you need a tape measure for? To measure the width of your existing disappearing stairway. There's 22-inch that fit between trusses, and there's 25-inch that fit a larger hole that's framed in there. Okay, you need to know. All you got to do is measure the door, the width of the door. Most disappearing stairways are 54 inches long, roughly. They're all the same length. They vary in width. Now, ceiling height. If you've got a 10-foot, 9-foot ceiling, disappearing stairway, you need to know that too because they make different heights of attic tents. All this is on the website, attictent.com. And then once you staple it in, run a bead of caulking around it where it meets the wood, and you're good to go. It's that simple. And it works. You just unfold your disappearing stairway, you climb the disappearing stairway, you unzip the flap, you throw the flap back, you get up there and do your business. When upon leaving your attic, you zip it back up, turn the light out too, by the way. You turn the light out, and then you put that disappearing stairway back up, and you've sealed the hole. Does Acosta install those?
We do.
See, Acosta, your heating and air, and y'all recommend them too, don't you?
Definitely.
Man, that's a tremendous benefit. And the biggest time, the time of the year you're going to notice it most is right now. If you go down your hallway today, you're going to feel a heat difference if you've got a disappearing stairway in it without an attic tent. It's amazing how effective it is, and it's amazing how cheap or inexpensive they are. For around $100, you can order one online and do it yourself, or I'm sure for around $250, most companies can install them for you.
Mm-hmm.
That was my happy-go-lucky price on installing one, because I'm gonna come out there and do everything, pick up the attic tent, and typically y'all carry them on the truck.
No, they don't really carry them on the truck.
They don't.
No.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
Can't
We've
carry
got
everything.
so many things on those trucks now.
Yeah, you can't carry everything.
Right.
It's hard to be prepared. Do y'all carry a major brand now?
We use both Lennox and Ream.
Ream, gotcha. But you'll service anything.
Also American Standard. It's really more. We've pretty much Lennox and American Standard, and Ream is the third line.
Right. But you'll service anything.
Oh yeah, we'll service all along.
And all right, I asked Zeke off the air, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask him now. How many service trucks you got?
I think we got 14 service and 4 installation.
Yep. And now your installation are basically replace, upfit.
Replacement, basically, just we do repair and replace. We do not do any new construction, and we do both.
You're mostly service.
Mostly service.
Meaning service. If your system's not working, they'll either put a new one in or fix the one you have.
Right.
Right.
Right. We do it. A lot of service and repair, and then we find the system that is old or too expensive to repair, or we don't recommend repairing it because of the age of the equipment, or we still run into systems that have R22 in them. Well, you can't. R22 is like gold. It's just very.
When did that change? Now R22 is the old refrigerant, right?
The old refrigerant,
and that's very, very, very expensive.
Very expensive. Then then 410. That was 22 was replaced for 410, and now they've got the new A1 refrigerant that just came out with the new energy efficiency and stuff this year. And
we're up against the clock there, but we've got 2 more things we need to cover in the program here, and that is Freon.
Mm-hmm.
The changes in Freon through the years, and mini splits. What's a mini split?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
It's changed the whole landscape, I think, anyway.
It has.
But we'll talk about it. That's mini splits and Freon. We're going to talk more. Zeke Acosta in the house talking cooling primarily today. Why? Because it's hot as heck. The air conditioner's straining, working its butt off and not keeping up. Well, I hope we've told you some of the reasons why and what you can do about it. Tune in. More info coming your way right here on About Your House.
Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
This is Tyler White with Crown Town Cannabis. Are you tired of regular, old, boring, gummy cannabis edibles? Well, now, at all Crown Town locations, we are carrying the Whole Damn Bakery. The Whole Damn Bakery is our line of freshly baked, scratch-baked goods made right here in North Carolina and delivered weekly to our locations. We have everything from chocolate chip cookies, oatmeal cream pies, brownies, and other cereal bars that you can come in and check out weekly. Please just ask your bud tender to point you in the direction of the Whole Damn Bakery.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you, offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com, and I love empowering my clients and partners to make the most out of today's latest digital media tools. We specialize in building production systems and podcast studios for small to mid-sized churches and local businesses here in Charlotte. Do you need new media production gear? Do you need help learning how to use it? You're in great hands with our family business, Atero Media of Charlotte. That's ETTARO Media.com.
The professionals at Kilo Exterminating Company have over 70 years of experience in pest control. Throughout the years, they always pride themselves on maintaining the highest standard of quality and customer service, with every technician being state certified. And moisture readings are standard with every inspection. Their top priority is ensuring your home is free from pests such as ants, mosquitoes, termites, and any other pests wreaking havoc on your home. That's Kilo Exterminating at 704-333-9855 or online, kilo.biz. That's 704-333-9855.
Libretto's Pizzeria was established in 2004 in New York City. It's located in Charlotte on John J. Delaney Drive in the Ballantyne area, serving up authentic New York pizzas and a full Italian menu. Come in casual, hang out, and relax. We offer dine-in, takeout. You can order delivery. We could also cater your special event. Libretto's has got you covered. I am Mike Libretto. We are also the home of Spinello's famous infused take and bake pizzas. Visit us online at librettospizzeria.com and spinellospizza.com or call us at 704-714-1442.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Talking cooling today with Zeke Acosta, Acosta Heating, Cooling, and Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. We're talking Freon for the break. What is Freon?
Freon is just a brand name. It's just a refrigerant. But all.
So Freon was a brand name, actually.
It's a brand, yes.
But everybody kind of labeled it generic. All the refrigerants, Freon.
Right.
But when that's not the case at all.
No, not at all.
I did not know that myself.
Yeah. Freon is just a brand name.
Gotcha. But it's a refrigerant.
It's a refrigerant.
And the refrigerant is what your system has to have in it to produce cold air.
Right. And there's been a lot of changes in the refrigerants. Started with the R12, which was in window units and in car air conditioners, refrigerators. They switched it to 22, and 22 was switched to 411, 410, and now it's there's the new refrigerant. They supposed to have been out in 23, but then delayed it and then changed it to 25.
Now, I don't know if you know this. You've been in the industry certainly a long time, and you probably do. Why the change?
Also, the 12 and 22 was ozone depletion. They said they was depleting the ozone layer as the chemical went up into the air, and
so it was harmful for environmental
reasons, right?
Right. Okay. So they changed that. That was the reason R12 and R22 went away.
Right.
Because of the ozone depletion.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually, those were actually face out refrigerants. Now the 410 is not a face out; it's a face down. So the 410 is going to be around for years because it's not as
Harmful.
it's not
It's
as
not as
harmful
Okay.
or damaging to the ozone layer. Plus the ozone layer, the hole in the ozone layer is closed back in, and so they're not closed in, but it's getting smaller.
It's getting smaller, yeah.
So now but the reduction, I had here like in 2023, the 410 was supposed to go down to 90%, and you can go even down to like 2035 is when it gets down to 20%.
Right.
So we got another 10 years, and even then they're going to be able to produce 20% of what they're
Now the
producing now.
cost, you can still get 410.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
can still get,
Yeah.
but the cost of it's astronomical.
No, 410 is not yet.
Not
It's
410. I'm speaking of the
22.
Yeah.
22, you cannot buy virgin refrigerant. The 22 that you can purchase now has been recycled. Like when we take units out, we take the old refrigerant and send it back to manufacturing.
There's a code on that now, right? You've
Right.
got to recover
You
all
have
the refrigerant.
everything, yes.
Matter of fact, if you're taking an air conditioner or a refrigerator to the dump or a recycle center, it's my understanding they won't take those units with refrigerant in them, or
they're supposed to recycle
or
it.
they're supposed to take
Right,
the
yeah.
refrigerant out
Mhm.
and recycle it before it goes to processing.
Right, before they
Is that correct?
crush these things, right?
Right. So they recover refrigerant
Right.
in all refrigeration units, typically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's kind of a code.
It is code, yes. You cannot vent it into the atmosphere. It just needs to be recovered.
Right. And to do that, you have special equipment to do so.
You have to have a recovery machine that takes the refrigerant out of the unit and puts it into a cylinder, and then you take that recycled refrigerant. You can take it to one of the supply houses, and they'll send it to have it processed. And there's also companies who'll come by and pick it up. At one time we were doing so much of the recovery, especially with 22. We had like a 1,000-pound cylinder in the shop that the guys would recover it in the field, come to the shop, and then transfer it over to the larger tank, and then they come pick up the large tank and process it.
But this is part of what y'all do in the cooling industry,
right?
So this is part of the service you get. I don't think people are aware of all this, though. Most people. And see, this is the education information we provide here on the program to kind of inform you. You say, why do I need to know this? Because this is part of what we deal with, and the cost and all of the cost involved with keeping and maintaining your system.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we go out there and service a unit because, let's say, the expansion valve is bad. Well, we can't just dump the refrigerant into the atmosphere. We have to recover it. And there's a cost of doing that. Then there's a cost of transferring it to a larger cylinder.
You got you're handling it.
And you had to handle it at the shop. You have to either that or ship it to reprocess. And just those are added costs that they don't see.
Where's the refrigerant stay in the system? Is it in the lines? Is it in the compressor?
Where? The compressor takes the refrigerant and pressurizes it to high temperature gas. Then the condenser gets rid of that heat, and then the gas goes to a liquid refrigerant. So it changes state from gas to liquid, and then the liquid goes to the indoor evaporator coil, and there is again changes state from a liquid to a gas. And when you have that change of state, then it can pick up the heat from the indoor air, and then that heat goes back to the compressor, which gets recycled again.
Gotcha. Technology, ain't it wonderful? But air conditioning. Now, something that I love and I think that is very well, it solves a lot of problems. I think more so because become much more affordable are the mini splits.
Mini splits. Mini splits are more and more used than you think of, and you're talking about people that are just not having enough cooling in their house because of
just work, just heat
the
load.
heat. You can add a mini split and to the bedroom area, let's say, and you can just put it in the bedroom and just supplemental cooling, which cuts down on the cooling load of the house. Also, if you had something happen to your main unit, you still got cooling in the bedroom area, so you can go.
It's been years though since people started. Well, let me say that was worded incorrectly. Let me back up here. For years, nobody suggested what you just did in the industry.
Right.
For years. Because I would sit back and say, well, there's a resolve this, and it's real simple. It's a mini split. Matter of fact, a listener called me, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and she said, Ray, I've read a lot about mini splits. Those new air conditioning units that are real small, mount on the wall. And I said, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. She said, if I put one of those in my bedroom, that would take the load from upstairs. It would take part of that load away. And for what they cost and what they cost to operate, they're pretty darn affordable. I said, they're real affordable to this day and time. Matter of fact, and I'm going to bring it up, they got DIY kits now that you can do yourself if you're a handyman and a tradesperson and familiar with tools, that you don't need the special tools for pressurization. They've solved that in the kits that you can install them. And they're very affordable, relatively speaking. They work great.
They work great. I guess the biggest thing they started being used for was for sunrooms or,
little amenities.
Little,
bonus rooms.
Bonus
perfect.
room.
Above the attic
room
where you
over
can't.
the garage.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are.
Or garages. You can cool and heat that garage with a mini split. And used to, you would have a company come out and go ahead and put a forced air system in a small space. Man, why would you do that with mini splits?
Right.
Not needed.
Right.
And they're so efficient. It's incredible.
Yeah.
You can't even hear them. Don't work. I mean, they
very quiet, very efficient, and they have most of them are variable speed. So you get, let's say you bought a 2-ton mini split. It doesn't really run a 2-ton all the time. It can start down like at 3/4 of a ton, so just like a window unit. And as you need more, it just keeps
throttles up. It throttles up.
Keeps, it's like pressing the accelerator on your car. You just speed it up, and it just gets up to the full tonnage.
Yeah.
Same thing in the heating side. It heats more because it just ramps up the heat. You don't need backup heat. Used to be mini split, you would have a backup heater also built into it. Now
right, a strip heat.
Now they don't have it. It's just no heat at all in the mini splits. It's just the unit itself. It does the heating.
That's the incredible thing about mini splits. And they've also got mini splits now with technology being what it is, where you can zone them.
You can have, I just finished remodeling at the house, and I put a 4-car garage. Well, I've got a mini. Well, it's not a mini. They still call mini split, but it's a 3-ton system that I've got 4 different heads on it. So downstairs in the garage, I've got two units that heat and cool the garage. Then I have a room above the garage, which is right out now it's just conditioned space. So you got conditioned storage upstairs, and it's just another 2 heads, and it'll work on one all the way up to the 4 heads. And um, talking about encapsulation, well, encapsulate the whole thing. It doesn't run it very much at all, and just the cost of operation is just very, very low.
On what you just said, this is new, right?
Yes.
This is a new garage, new structure.
Right.
If you're planning a remodeling project in addition to your home, it's something that I would highly recommend that you look into your mini splits as your comfort system, because they're much more effective, much more efficient than your forced air systems. And the technology is incredible, like you just said. The variable speed units, the technology behind them, they've been used in Europe for
years,
a long
everywhere.
time.
Yeah.
And now we're adopting them in this country, and it's just pretty amazing how effective they are.
There's been so many changes. You said the multi heads, so you can have different ears. They even have a unit now that has you can have a duct system on it, and it's the indoor fan is very, I guess, small, or not as strong, so you can have 3 or 4 registers in the
right.
And that's another way. You don't have to have a full duct system. You can have like two or three rooms with one small unit.
Gotcha. They're pretty darn incredible with the technology being. See, I didn't know how far they advanced. That's why I wanted to bring them up here toward the end of the program. Here, we got a caller.
Mark has a question about mini splits.
Okay, put him on. We'll talk to Mark. Good morning, Mark. How are you, sir?
Hey, doing great, Ray. How are y'all?
I am great. Appreciate your call. What can we do to help?
I've got a question. We have a barn, and we've got a mini split in the tack room of the barn. There's a need to control moisture and temperature in there because of leather, and obviously those kind of things.
Sure, absolutely.
I've got and we've also got a dehumidifier in there that this time of year gets emptied out about every other day.
Gotcha.
But y'all were talking earlier about lowering the speed on a variable speed fan, and that would take out more of the moisture. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So I can't remember what it's set at right now. So if I just lower the speed on that fan, that should take out. I'm assuming it's going to run longer, but it's going to take out more of the moisture in the air.
Right. It depends on how old or what series mini split you have, and the brand.
Well, it's about 7 years old. It's a variable speed. I've got a hand or a remote control that I can control the
speed of the
fan
indoor.
with that.
Yeah. If you slow it down, if you're slowing the fan speed, now the control, I'm not sure. Is the control controlling the fan, or is it controlling the whole system?
There's a setting on the remote that says fan.
Fan only. Okay.
For the speed. Yeah.
If you got a remote fan speed, if you do lower the fan speed, it's going to make that indoor coil a little colder, which is going to remove more humidity out of the air.
And the reason being, it's Mark, right?
Right.
Mark, what you're doing is slowing the air down, therefore allowing that evaporator coil to remove more moisture from it. If you're just blasting through it, it's not giving it any time to remove the moisture and cool the air. So that's the purpose in the lower fan speed. It will cycle longer. It will run longer, but it's taking more moisture out of the air doing so.
And that's half of the purpose of having it in there, is to keep the moisture out of the air.
That's exactly what your air conditioning is doing for the most part. It's removing moisture from the air and cooling the air in the process.
Right. All right. Well, Ray, I appreciate it. You've been listening forever.
Thank
I
you.
too am a Geringer grad.
There you go, brother. Appreciate you.
76. Y'all have a great day. I appreciate the info. Thank
Hey,
you.
thank you. Have a great one.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Yeah. That's another advantage to when you buy a new unit for your house, versus the old, say you've had a unit 20 years old. Well, that unit doesn't have a variable speed fan on it.
No, it does not. But when you buy a unit for the house, you don't have the control that you can change the speed of the fan. It's all done electronically through the thermostat. So the thermostat sees what the humidity is, and you can control the humidity with it. Also, some of the features of some of the mini splits, you can control the humidity from the remote.
Right,
But
exactly.
that's what I was asking, depending on what unit, or, if a
Right.
7-year-old, we would not have that,
Doesn't
feature,
have the technology in
but
it. The newer
the
ones
new
would.
ones will,
Right.
help you control the humidity more also.
Yep. But that by virtue of slowing the air down, a lot of people don't understand that. You think that if you jack the speed up of the fan, it's going to produce more cold air. No, actually, it won't. It doesn't have time to cool the air, nor take the humidity out of the air.
Right.
But if you slow that, now the old systems don't have that capability.
Right.
So you can't change it. So when you upgrade, replace, to a new unit, you want to be darn sure the new technology's there. You'll pay more for it.
Right.
You do pay more for that variable speed technology.
Right. The other thing about the variable speed, depending on how old your duct system is, a lot of times the duct system for the house might not be compatible to be able to do the variable speed, because it slows the fan down so much, and resistance that you don't have any volume coming out of the register.
I got you. I hear
it doesn't,
you. That's old duct systems.
Right.
And old duct systems do need to be changed in some cases because it can't handle the new system and new airflow.
Right.
I didn't think of that, but I know exactly what you're talking about, because some of these old systems, the duct sizes weren't adequate.
No, they ran 6 inches to everywhere.
Yeah, the 6 inches were everywhere, like you say, and that doesn't balance out very well. Nope. What's your thoughts on flex duct, the advancement of flex duct, and the technology behind where it's come from?
It's a lot better than it was.
I was in a supply house just in Be Handy the other day, and I saw some ductwork, blew me away. The technology behind it's incredible.
Right. So the interior liners, it's a lot thicker, more resistant. Then you have the spiral that they put in there, plus the insulation, this thicker insulation than even the outer jacket. We had the outer jacket especially was not sun resistive, and you put it up in the attic, and you go up and you look at it, and you could see the insulation because all the sun had hit it, and it just
I went into an attic out in I can't remember the name of the subdivision now. It's up off of Rocky River Road going over 485 near Harrisburg. I call it a house farm, subdivision where they build all vinyl siding. I'm going to just say it, and I'm sorry to say it, but to me it's substandard housing, because the contractor, the developer who built that area ought to be shot. I don't mean that literally, but the bottom line is those houses were junk. I crawled up into the attic to check a dryer vent. Every piece of ductwork in that attic had busted open. The vinyl was very apparent. I mean, you could see it. The insulation was off the ductwork. Now, the reason I'm telling this story is because you need to know this. If you get a replacement unit, they come in there and put you new ductwork in, do your research and find out what quality and what grade of ductwork you're getting, because all ductwork is not created equal.
It's not.
And there's some trash out there. We just told you of an example. So be sure your ductwork's quality, got good R values, and is quality.
It is,
'Cause that's a cost-cutting method right there.
right. Just like duct board. Well, that was a cost cutting. You had a piece of duct board, you could just go out there with some knives and make the ductwork on the job.
Yes, you could.
The problem was that where it seamed, put tape on it, the tape would come loose and it'll split.
Then you have leaks.
Air leaks, and then the outer part of the duct board is nothing but a piece of aluminum foil.
Right.
And if you ripped it, air leaked out of it.
Bottom line is ductboard sucks.
Right.
Pretty much, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And there's another factor we'll hit you with when we come back from the break around ductboard. Moisture. What happens to it then? Maybe breed mold? You think? Maybe? Possibly? We'll tell you about it when we get back.
More about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Summer heat is here, along with the humidity. Will your air conditioner provide the comfort needed? ABS Insulating can provide the resources to give you comfort this summer and all year. ABS Insulating uses the latest technology and products to insulate and seal the envelope of your home, creating a comfortable environment all year long, also extending the life of the air conditioning. Call ABS Insulating today for lasting comfort tomorrow. 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
Steve Helms here with the Al Metal Driving Corporation. The Al Metal Driving Corporation is a full-service driving company. Regardless of the problem, we can handle it. Does your clothes dryer take longer than 45 to 50 minutes to dry a load? If so, you need your dryer vent cleaned or checked. The clothes dryer is the most inefficient appliance in the house and should never take longer than 45 to 50 minutes. Call Al Metal Dryer Vent today at 704-846-8368 or online at almetaldryervent.com. That's 704-846-VENT. Have you cleaned your dryer vent lately?
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com. Someone asked me once what I love the most about my 30-year-long career as a media producer and educator, and I have to say the fact that not only do I get to create for a living every day, but then I get to teach and help others to use the content and gear systems that I've built for them themselves. Do you need professional live event video production or streaming services? You're in our family business. All 5-star Google reviews. That's ETTARO media.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Talking cooling today. How do you achieve more cooling? Because you know what? It's harder to stay cool than it is to stay warm. You can put on more clothes in the winter.
You can only take off so much.
And taking off don't make you a bit cooler. Sometimes taking off your clothes makes you hotter because your sweat isn't being absorbed and being transferred with the air. So, hey, give it some thought, but it's hard. Right now we're in summertime, 1 weekend. We got 3 months to go, folks. We're just getting into it. It's come on with a vengeance this year, hasn't it?
It has. It started.
I don't think we've had an early kicker like this in a long time.
Been a long time.
Yeah, because it was brutal last week. And like I said, we just entered summer. We got 3 months of this crap, and it's crap. Let me tell you, it drains you, man. You can't go out and work 3-4 hours solid in it. Can't do it. And if you're getting in an attic,
you better have a lot of water.
A lot of water, and that's another thing I want to tell everybody. If you're not hydrating, you're not doing it right. And I'm one to talk because I do not drink enough water. And it's very necessary for health and wellness. Trust me. So water is a key thing. But this is brutal. So we need to just stay abreast of what we need to do and what are some of the things. But if you've got an old unit that's 20 years or better, what do you think the life expectancy of a units are today?
They say 12 to 15 and on an air conditioner, and 15 to 20 on a furnace. I don't know that the new units are going to last that long.
It's planned obsolescence and maintenance, and you get the picture. They don't build things to last anymore.
They don't.
They build it to get your money, unfortunately. Used to, when you they built something in America like washing machines, like the old Maytags, the old Speed Queens. They lasted forever. Forever. They don't do that anymore because they want your money. They want you to go out and replace it. And nowadays, as you well know, they come out to diagnose or see what's wrong. They can't get the part anymore. You have to replace the whole unit.
Yeah, there's some issues with that. Although most parts you can get. The hardest thing is the refrigerant, the R22 refrigerant, and some electronic boards, because they become obsolete because they're for a specific unit, and unless you have some experience, nobody uses replacement parts. They always go with original replacement
right,
factor parts, which is great. I mean, you're better off using the original manufacturer part, but sometimes you have to know how to do make some minor changes to be able to use a generic part. And that's the thing. Most don't have generic parts on their truck. They just, very few generic parts. Everything's an original manufacturer part.
Right. Well, the part business itself has just gone crazy. The parts and the availability. I know in the ventilation, the vent hoods and what have you. If you've got something over 15, 20 years old, chances are you're not going to be able to get the parts for it unless you find some used stuff, which I've learned through the years of, being resourceful and figuring things out. Sometimes you can bypass a switch with another kind of switch if you know how to do it. But then again, that's wisdom and experience that teach you that. Sometimes I even I'm called out and look at somebody and say, well, you can use this fan over on this. I didn't know that. Same fan. It's just with a different model number on it. But a lot of these kind of things with experience can be done. But not just anybody can do it. You got to have an experienced service technician. there's another reason we need to put tools in schools so we'll have some experienced service technicians down the road, because we're losing 5 to every 2 coming in. 5 technicians walk away and only 2 walk up to replace them.
Yeah, we're losing a lot just because of age.
Age. We're aging out.
Aging out of the.
And it's affecting everybody. I'm telling you. Everything. Right now, if we don't start changing the way we teach our kids, we're screwed, because you won't get anything fixed, or you'll wait weeks, if not months, to get them fixed. And how come all the trades are centered? I mean, mostly occupied by immigrants and foreigners, because Americans aren't taught how to do it. It's not because they don't want to, because we're not exposing them to it. Now, are we?
They're not being exposed, and a lot of the immigrants do a lot of work around construction, and you start working in new construction, you get exposed to not only if they're framers, they also get exposed to wiring, plumbing, everything else, and they see the other trades that they're,
I'm glad you said that, because when you work in the trades, electrical, you're working beside the carpenter, you're working beside the plumber, you're working in the same place and surrounding as all the other trades, and you pick those trades up as well. My gosh, when I was 21 years old, I was learning concrete, I was learning drywall, I was learning framing, I was learning concrete, masonry, glass, wallpaper, drywall finishing. I mean, you name it, I was learning it because I was exposed to it. Yeah, and I learned it too. And it also makes you get out and watch things. Many times I said, "Can I do that?" They'd say, "Yeah, jump on in here and grab a trowel. Let's go for it." That's how I learned to finish concrete. Well, what are we exposing the kids to? They don't have a clue what the tools are for. They have no idea what tools are for and are about. But hey, we got to wrap this show up. Zeke, thank you for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We covered a lot of material today.
We covered a lot.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom. I wish you health and wellness. And that's Acosta Heating and Acosta Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Yeah.
I don't know what the website is.
Just Acosta Inc. AcostaINC.com.
There you go. That's Acosta. Been around a long time. How many years now?
53.
53 years. Been around a while. And still family owned and second generation.
Second generation.
Yeah, his daughter stepped up. Another example of how you start something and it can carry on through the family. That's great. And that's the trades too. If you want to be self-employed, want to be a true entrepreneur, get into the trades.
Yeah. And, we keep talking about Laura, my daughter stepped up, but my son is also in the business. He's a comfort consultant, so he's out in the field also.
So you got a son that's in it now too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I didn't bring that up. That's good to hear. So you got a family deal going on.
Definitely.
Just like Owens Chimney Systems, Christina. Here this girl got out of high school, got into real estate, thought she'd venture somewhere else. Just couldn't get it out of her and got back into chimney systems, and now she's a certified chimney sweep. See, second generation chimney sweep, moving right in, and married her husband as a technician. Came into Owens Chimney and got a job, and they met. Now they're living happily ever after. So it does work. Thank you again, Zeke. I appreciate you coming in. I really do.
Thanks for having me.
Great. You're a plethora of information. And we thank you. Now go make it a great week. We'll be back here with more about your house next week. I have no idea what we're talking about. We'll talk about your house. Just stay tuned. Tune in. Turn on. Right on Fox Sports Charlotte. Go spread some love this week. Find you a kid to mentor. Help them out. Help them be aware of the trades, working with your hands and your mind. Great career pathway. Great opportunity for purpose and happiness. Now go make it a great week. Spread some love. We love all of you. Remember, health is wealth. Let's focus on it. We'll talk to you next week right here on About Your House.